Hey everybody, today on the AgentXcel podcast, we have our guest Dave Leverage. How you doing, Dave?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I'm refocusing still. Always making sure I'm doing the right thing and connecting up with people like you to make sure that I'm not crazy doing what I'm doing. But doing very, very well. Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. Well,
it's been amazing. So
thanks for jumping on. I know, so you and I just always like to give a backstory. Some people I
sure.
know really well that I bring on the show, some people I don't. And I've seen you at a few masterminds that I've went to, a few events, and I've
Mhm.
gotten to know you a little bit, and you're a cool guy. And I started following you on social, and I'm like, hey, this guy is he's selling some homes, right? So I see what you're
Yeah.
doing, and I just wanted to bring you on the show so we could just talk about what you're doing right now to get business, and hopefully we can help somebody
Yeah.
out there that's, driving in their car at the gym listening to this. So let's go into
Totally.
like
Yeah.
what got you. I always like to start with not only like when you got into real estate, but almost
Sure.
more importantly, why you got into real estate.
Yeah. Well, I got into real estate. I got my license the very, very start of 2018. So I hit the Candy Crush era of high tide and didn't realize it was going to get even better. I got into it for survival. I had owned my own ad agency before, gone through 2008, not knowing what that meant. Just why is my business sucking? And why is everything going to crud? And I went through a divorce in that time, and it'd be like 2010. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I've got to feed my baby. So I took a job that was just a kind of production designer type job. And then like, why would you take this? You're an art director. It's like, because my babies are first. And so my big why has always been my family. Um, yeah, and so anyway, that led me, to a new job, and then working that job, doing the video work, from my graphic background, and then just never panned out. And so I had run into a girl who had been my dream from school, like when we were kids. She went to a different school, but we had met, and I was always too shy, but we were best friends for 4 years. And well, like the angel out of the darkness, I mean, literally, she said, "Hey, how's it going?" And that's what I when I was finishing up my divorce, and I went, "Oh wow, it's you." And so we got together, we got married, and then I was in this job that wasn't producing, and in the meantime, our two families had joined. So we started looking at, hey, we can't fit this many kids in one place. We had three bunk beds in one room kind of a thing. And so we're like, okay, so we need to look for something. So we started the search for real estate, and it was a contingent sale, and it was manufactured on land, which we hadn't realized the stigma at that point until we started trying to sell it. Which of course now it'd be gold. But long story short, it took us about a year of being bumped, actually, active bumpable, getting bumped on different homes and going through the process, and really got a taste of, oh, okay, this is, real estate. And then we finally got our dream home. And then we got to the point where I was still in my old design job I was supposed to become a media director for this company, was making them millions. And when I last clocked out, I think I was making 39,500. So it was brutal. And she goes, one of us has to go into real estate. And she was thinking it was her. I'm like, done. So, and she goes, wait, what? Oh, I'm like, yeah, on it. And, because I owned my own businesses before and a little hiatus working for someone. But, so at that point, I said, okay. And I started getting my license. I just started, taking the online training as I was working. So I was working 60 hours a week and doing probably 10, 15 hours a week of, maybe 20 of the real estate training. And a friend of mine from high school had a very successful, agency, or her own shop in a neighboring town. And she said, "Hey, do you want to talk?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I'd started seeing her sign everywhere. And that emergence had started like in 2010, and it was through when she joined Keller Williams. And what happened is I started seeing her face, and it made me realize repetition, seeing the branding, seeing the signs in the yard, how that kind of worked. She's got this figured out, so I went there. So long story short, I got my license in January of 2018, and in March I had a month's paid vacation to quit my other job, so it gave me a little bit of a cushion, not enough. To any new agents, 6 months to a year's worth of backup, and we're not kidding. Just saying, have it, or have help, or have help. Um, so I got in on as a buyer agent only because that was the model. If you know the MREA model, which I know
Yeah,
you're familiar with.
I know it well.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books for many years. I think I read that book on probably like five different cruises. I was addicted to
Oh
that
yeah.
book in my
Yeah.
like mid 20s.
Right.
It was the way to go. I learned so
Yeah.
much from it. So anybody listening, is it the Millionaire Real Estate Agent?
It
That's what the
is.
book's called, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, so
Yeah.
you're a buyer's agent on the team and
Yeah. And so I put in again, my motto is 3,000%. That's just, I mean, I think a lot of us who are wired for this in our particular roles, that's the way we go. It's that, or it's the, vacation mom who pays for their Hawaii trips. I mean, there's not a lot in between. At least I haven't seen. So I was 60 hours a week doing probably 24 events at least 2 to 3 events a month, just getting my face out there, but it was all for the team. And then about a year and a half in, I'm like, I'm still, you know, I'm closing a lot of deals and I'm still wondering about mortgages. And so I went off on my own. And yeah, the first check was like, oh, okay. I'm caught up on all my back stuff and paid 2 months ahead on mortgage and planning what to do next. And so that's how I got started. And I've just always built off of listings. And it was just seeing, hey, you know, try not to reinvent the horse or reinvent the cart,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but just okay, what has worked? Why has it worked? What do people come? What draws people? And then being from a marketing advertising background, like I said, my first job I was graphic design and then art director, then owned my own agency, small agency, not massive one, but a couple people. And so I knew that branding was huge too, and branding and presence. And so that's been, I guess, my biggest the biggest thing I brought is consistent branding. And I know you've seen it, yeah, and everyone has as well. And not to say it's misleading, but having consistent branding gives people, a stability. And so you see that, you look for that because selling homes it's the one of the biggest decisions most people make unless they're investors. So they want to have everything they can be as calm as they can. And then of course, that's where we come in. So yeah, that's kind of my kick to it. And then as far as building, it's been social media driven. I've done some farming, but it's mostly with referral farming to my past clients.
yeah.
I use a magazine from Reminder Media for that. And it goes out once a quarter, and people love it. And it's got me, probably 10 referrals in the last couple of years. So I mean that's worked pretty well. And just always looking at how do I do this better? How do I skip the mistakes? How do I get the Disneyland Fast Pass? And I've really kind of stumbled into those rooms, kind of wondering, am I supposed to mop up in the back? That first mastermind we were at, when somebody's like, I want to go from 700 units to 800 units, and I'm like, do you want fries with that?
Right.
you know, I
I feel the
yeah,
same way in those, man. I think everyone feels that way in some form.
yeah.
I think it keeps you hungry.
Oh,
But yeah, you
it's
see like
amazing.
you're right. Like I remember Andrew Franklin was in one of those
Yes,
masterminds we were in. I
yes.
was like,
I'm like,
he's like, I did 1,900 homes this year. And I was like, wait, 1,900? And I'm
100.
like, you basically like what you're
That's
doing in a year is just
careers.
incredible.
Yeah,
It just shows you what leverage and being around the
yeah,
right people can really grow into. So let's go. So with your how you're getting your business right now. So you're
sure.
saying, I mean, what kind of structure do you have? Like, is it all social media? Like I know you just said you're like farming your
Sure.
network of people. What does it look like in your day right now? Like when you put your marketing plan together for 2023, what's
So
Dave gonna do?
yeah, so it has been, I mean, massively multimedia, social media driven. It needs to become more platforms
When
to
you
hit the
when
dividend.
you say social media driven, is that just like organic, meaning you just post enough where your friends and family and past coworkers see it? Or are you talking about like paid,
It,
like
it,
on
it
social
is,
media?
I will do some paid like on listings. And that's especially coming back now. Of course, in the time of, listed on Thursday, go, have it viewable on Friday and then 50 offers on Monday. That didn't leave even time to market. I mean, you could, and I would still do all the professional photographs and videos and such and put those out there. And, but it didn't leave time to actually market it to then get the quote sign calls that we would usually get. And so it's been a shifting beast. So yeah, my my annual, as far as what I look at, a lot of it is, I mean, almost all of it is social media. I do market updates, and those are, I mean, we're in a small area. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with our friend Kevin Kaufman, and he was talking about the numbers of houses on the market. And like, we don't have that many houses on the market in the state, compared to your area. It's amazing. So I'm working in an area of, let's see, 3 towns. One of them, the biggest one is 60,000. The next one is 50, like 20. Then the next one is almost 10.
Okay.
So they're really small towns. And so the number of units is not that high, which gives me higher market share, but I mean, you have to scramble for it. That being said, the price point is one of those, if you saw that chart with the places that it might be impacted, it was one of the higher ones. Not off the charts, but I mean, we're looking at over 300 a square foot, you
Okay.
know. And so, like a shack, a 900 square foot shack is, 250 would be a piranha feeding frenzy. That's the market here. So that's what we're looking at that. And then, like I said, I have looked at, and I am with every listing now, especially looking at, I was using Facebook marketing, but I'm switching now more into Google. And I mean, the main reason just being it was pretty click, click, click as the scroll goes by, and filtering through the 250 leads on that one to find the 2 people that are really actually interested. I don't need to do that. We have enough time with our database, we go through that a ton, that's part of our job. So I would like to have more qualified leads and looking at Google for that, because there's people that actively are searching for that. So I'm shifting some of that. And then I
When
guess
you say when you say
Mhm.
that, are you talking about like doing like more like Google pay per click or
Yeah,
okay, more of
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. And it's one of those things I'm constantly kind of keeping pulse with, hey, what's working for everyone else? And that's why I love the community that I've stumbled into with Next Level Agents. It was random. I mean, Cody Gibson told me at a Bold in, 2019. He's like, yeah, go join this group. And I'm like, okay. And I hadn't done anything with it until 2020. And then I started talking with people, and like, this 30,000 agents on here. Holy cow, this is a massive resource. And it's not just, I mean, there's a few, I'm sure that you're on as well, where some post comes up and it becomes 8,000 responses and nothing that's positive, or, I don't need to waste time with that. But yeah, that group kind of led me into rooms.
Hmm.
I
Those
mean, I don't
rooms
know.
are those rooms are powerful. I'm thankful that,
Yeah.
I'm just thankful from the get-go. I always had people that were willing to invite me to things. And
Hmm.
now I get invited to other things. And those, I mean, I have to just say almost everything that I can look back on that's been a huge success was
Yeah. Hmm.
something that I learned in, a mastermind. Um,
Yeah.
and not ever really in, I mean, I remember back in the day I used to go to um like my brokerage trainings,
Sure.
like that stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, like that's not really what I'm talking about when people are listening. Like not really like the how to use the MLS or how to write a contract. Like, like the ones
Right.
we're in where it's like, hey, we're collectively like throwing
Hmm.
problems on the whiteboard. And
Yeah.
we're collectively throwing out our problems and we're collectively solving problems, meaning there's no, I think the best ones are when there's no agenda,
Yeah.
like no one's going there to talk about anything. It's like, hey,
Right.
we're
What do you want
getting
to solve?
together so that like everyone can throw out problems and then everybody can throw out their solutions.
Right.
And we're not just going to talk about problems. We're going to go and talk about solutions. So it's cool that I mean, because you've only been doing this for 4 years. It's really cool that you've
Yeah.
jumped into those, because it's always odd because I invite a lot of people to, like people that can get into those rooms that are at that production. And
Sure.
it's always odd to me how like, certain people like turn those down often. And I'm
I,
like, man, and I'm like, it's
I,
so interesting to me. And
mhm.
then teach their own, but I'm like, but then they'll be the same ones that ask me, 6 months down the road, like, man, how are you? How are you?
Right.
How are you? And I'm
Right. How do
like,
you do this? Because
wait,
I'm
like
I'm learning.
that's how. But
Yeah.
okay, and then I invite you to the next one, right? So, anyways, but I want to
Yeah.
go back to social. So, like when
Sure.
you just talk about like that's where you say you get a lot of your business. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
what does that mean to you? Because I feel like I follow a lot of realtors and
Sure.
I feel a lot of them, some do it right. I feel like there's a lot that do it wrong.
Sure,
by like
sure.
what they post and things like that.
Right.
What does that look like for you when you talk social? Are you very
Yeah.
like are you very structured with how you do it? Are you methodical with what you'll post and what you won't post on a personal level?
Well, as far as structured, I try to be because I feel like everyone that I've met who's successful and has like minds like yourself and myself is ends up being ADD or ADHD. We're just trying to keep ourselves in the rail. I mean, it's just there's so much because we're brilliant people, but you got to contain us just like a Tasmanian devil, And so keeping me on task is finding those quote habits. And so social media is one of those. Anytime I mean, anytime I have a change in a listing that's a positive, it's something that becomes a post and usually to a story. And it's not usually nothing huge. It's just boom, just letting people know. And then, with a question. And it's always a question like, hey, if the one last night was, if you're looking, you need to sell your house before you buy. You want to know how? Ask me. It's like how do you lead into this? Because and to segue slightly, um, I think a big part of our coming market with this interest rate change is the downsizers, the people that need to sell their larger house to buy one that's less expensive because they're not looking so much at rates, or if they are, it's only on 100,000 rather than five, at 7 or 8%. So yeah, so for social, it's unfortunately calculated. Um, you know, I make sure that I post social things about myself. My exercising, like things like that, anything with the kids, with the family. And I mean, I am a very open book, a very outgoing person, but I'm also calculated, realizing how many times I post business versus how many times I post myself. I post my food. People make fun of me for it, but I'm like, I didn't buy it. I made this from scratch.
You're like, this is
So that's
art.
cool.
This is I didn't
It's
buy this at
art.
Chipotle. Like this is
Yes.
my art.
Oh,
Look at it.
exactly. Exactly.
Appreciate it.
Exactly.
Ah,
But I mean, personality wise, I'm a very, I don't know, not explosive, but just gushing out. I mean, I'm very happy about things. They call it like I guess cherub like. Um, I'm ecstatic for people's success and truly, and not in I wish I had that way. I mean, I would love to find the way to, but I'm ecstatic for people's success. And I think that's carried a long way because I'm always celebrating everyone else's wins. And that's one thing I don't see a lot of in our industry. I mean, sometimes between same brokerages or downlines or whatever you want to call them, you'll see that, but not a lot. Just cross. I don't care what badge you're wearing, whatever. And I do that regularly. And I think one, I'm stoked for them. I'm glad that that they're doing well. It makes me happy inside. And then on the less altruistic side, it also shows real estate, which then leads back to me. And it shows people how I work with, co-broker wise. Um, I think co-broker is the biggest thing for any local area that most people ignore. Um,
I,
and not just,
I think especially in, I think especially in small areas,
hmm
like for example, I had a guy on my podcast. I think it actually aired yesterday, and he's in a small town. It's actually a place in Oklahoma where I buy a lot of rental properties.
Oh yeah,
And
I told you that.
we
Nice.
were kind of I'm joking on the podcast. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd make it there. And
Yeah,
what I meant by that is I'm like, you have a bad day in Arizona, Maricopa County.
yeah.
Like there's 8 million people, like no one's gonna see you again,
Nobody
right?
knows.
Like I feel like in these little cities, I'm like, man, like you make one wrong move and they all know it. So I actually
Yeah.
think not shouldn't, not an excuse that we have more room to be rude. But I'm just saying, like,
No.
it feels like when I talk to these agents that are in little cities, I'm like, man, I feel like you guys have to be much more cautious about,
Yeah.
every move that you make as far as co-broke because it's such little areas. Like, I feel like you could easily get blackballed.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's one thing. I mean, because I work in a few areas because I was like, it's too small of a pond to try to fish from just one. And so I work in a few areas, and there's probably about 5 cities locally. I guess Corvallis would be the largest one, or Oregon State, which Beavers are now at 14th in the nation. It's been a while. They've been bad for a long time, but so smaller areas, and so when I go places and people know me, like my kids just go, "Oh, how do you know him?" And I'm like, "Oh, that was so and so from back here." Or how do you know him? "Oh, we just met," because that's the personality type. But um, having such small areas like that, it really does. I mean, who you are goes a long ways, and it carries with you. Um, yeah, just I wouldn't say 100%. You could screw it up and then fix yourself, just showing yourself as a good person. But it really does a lot more than a large area. I lived in Phoenix when I was 20, and nobody knew you. I mean, if you went to the same bank at the same time, the same days, you might get to know a teller. You
Right.
know, but otherwise, I mean, there's a few people you'd see here and there, but it's nothing like, you know, I guess you probably have the same number of people you actually know in small areas. It's just that there's a billion other people between them.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So
so yeah, it just
what would you so with social, since you're saying that's where you get a lot of your business, what would you recommend for an agent, on social? What do
mhm.
you think? Um, like, because I actually know a lot of realtors that don't post anything on social, and I always
Right.
find that to be a very interesting one where,
Sure.
like, they'll talk to me about, hey, like I want to farm a neighborhood,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh, that's going to be a lot of money, or oh,
Right.
I'm going to cold call, and I'm like, that's cool, it'll work, or door knock, or open
Sure.
houses. All of those sound great, but I've always wondered, why wouldn't they utilize like the number one thing that, like, they're connected to their network. It's like the
Sure.
freest thing they could do. What do you think that is that, like, makes
Well,
someone not want to
I
post? I
think,
think I have ideas, but I want to hear yours.
yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I started that way, not wanting to be the guy, when one of your friends gets into insurance because you haven't talked to him in 10 years, and they call you, oh, hey, how's it going, buddy? You're like, "Oh,
Yeah. How have
that's
you
right. He just
been?
started to insert agency here. Yeah. And so that was a big hesitation of myself at the beginning, was not to make it, not directly blasting my friends for business and that sort of thing. But I think it's just hesitation. And I think once I mean, I started with, gosh, HomeSnap or one of those. I forget which one. One of the ones that gives you post to post. I would post it. Hey, what do you think of this? And it would come out. It would come out once every 2 weeks or once a month. And I would put that. I think it's once every 2 weeks. And I would just comment on it, and then ask a couple of close friends, hey, can you comment or whatever. And then of course, obviously keeping not business on there, because that's the last thing you want to see is, oh, that's all they do. And
Yeah.
then 6 months down the line, you don't see any more of that because it didn't quote work for them. But then anything that made sense around the industry that I could, I guess, kind of share, or just talk about,
Okay.
and just to get people knowing that this is what I do,
Cool.
yeah, because it is a change. But yeah, I mean, so events were a big thing, showing those, sharing those, and they start seeing it, and they seeing it, and they see it. And I didn't really know it was working until later. Somebody's like, I see you everywhere. I'm like, thank you. Because that's the goal,
Point.
is you just want to be, at least for myself, is I want to be the one that they remember. How he does that, let me call him,
Mhm.
in case I'm not farming you directly,
Yeah.
because I have my database and the people I call, but I want to also be the one that they think of because they've seen it. Oh yeah, he does real well. I've had a few listings in the last year, like, well, I see you and you look really professional. I love your stuff. I'm like, thank you. I would love to
Yeah.
help you and represent you in the most, stressful decision most people make. I'd love to be your shield in that. So
Yeah. I
there's
I
that.
actually that's my my number one thing that I get messages for on social.
Hmm.
It's so weird, is working out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so like, I have, like, it's interesting. I just started working out at, like, 4:30 to 5, maybe
Yeah.
3-4 times a week. I go that early, right? But I always
Oh,
post the time.
I see
And
your story. I
but
see your
what's the
story.
craziest thing, man, is what I think it was actually, it's proving, I think, this point that we're talking about is,
Mhm.
when I started doing that about maybe a month ago,
Sure.
there's two things that happened. Like, everywhere I went for the next 2 weeks, everybody was like, "Oh man," like, almost like I'm that crazy guy. Like, "Oh
Right.
man, you're the
Right.
guy who goes." And I was like, "Man, I've only been doing that for like 2 or 3 weeks, right?" So, like, one, I was like, "Man, they really follow you like it's a
Right.
reality show."
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was like, it was so, like, I was like, "Man, how?" Because you're like, man, some people follow thousands of people,
Oh
and for
yeah.
them to, like,
Totally.
see that, you're like, "Whoa, like, this really is a reality show that they're following." And it
It
just
is.
makes you realize, like, you control the narrative of your own reality show. And I think you've got to
Yeah.
be somewhat methodical about it, just like a producer of a show,
Definitely.
and say, like,
Yeah.
hey, like, even like reality shows that we watch, like, they don't really show all their life. It's very much like, this is
Right.
what we're going to show you. It's
What we can.
there's a narrative to it. And
Mhm.
I think that, but I've gotten so many comments on that over the last month. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you noticed? But
It's
yeah,
funny. It's true though, but I mean, I noticed that with myself because I've been, I do my, I don't know, I get up at 5:45 and do my runs. It's not religious. I mean, it's not a quote habit yet. Sorry, Cody.
Huh?
I'm trying to make it one. But I'll get 3 times a week at least.
Yeah.
Usually 2.5, 3 miles, 3.5 miles, whatever. And I'll put them up there. And usually it was just pictures from the workout thing because I use iFit, which I love
Yeah.
that. So hashtag iFit. Heather's still sleeping. Only way to beat her because she
I
works out
feel
as well. And fit 50s, because I'm fighting the clock. But it's funny, people notice that and they see it, and it's I think people love to be voyeurs, and especially when it's somebody because you can be happy for them. Hey, you're
Mhm.
doing good, and they'll see that, or hey, you're absolutely nuts because it's you posted this at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll see your story. I'm like, dang, Chris, you're killing because paid my dues, and I see the timestamp, and I'm like, all right, that's for real. That's yeah. But again, yeah, you're right. People do see that, and you'll notice people start kind of following and seeing those things. Um, and I guess it's hard because one, it is altruistic. Two, I use it to kind of hold myself, you know, to keep myself accountable.
Me
Like,
too.
hey, it's like,
That's me
hey,
too, dude.
I feel like if I don't put it out there, then they know I'm slacking, and who's they? I don't know, But I know that it keeps me. It's somebody saying, Dave, you got to get up, go get that. All right, just hit start, let's go. So it keeps me accountable.
Yeah. It's my
But
journal.
yeah, yeah,
I
literally,
actually I've said that many times on there. Like I've almost like telling people like, hey, I'm just talking to myself. Like
right,
this is just I'm doing this for me. And
right.
it's
If
just like
you
the
watch,
pressure. Because
great.
dude, when I started doing that dues paid when I would go in the morning,
Hmm.
I started doing that, right? And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden it started spreading around, and people started tagging me in the morning. And there was some days like yesterday,
that's awesome.
I went to the gym. I went to the gym last night and I told
Yeah,
my wife, I was like, I have to get to the gym. And she's like, why? And I was like, because you know how many people tag me today at 5 in the morning, dues
yes.
paid? And I'm like, I can't, I
Oh,
feel like
like I
the
owe it.
leader, like the
Yeah,
lost leader of just like,
right.
where's Chris at? I'm just like, hey, I just want to be normal today and not get up at 4. So,
Oh,
but
that's
I could
awesome.
not go to bed last night. I was like, I'm going to the gym. I've
Yeah,
got to go for an hour because
yeah,
like everyone had did that in the morning and they tagged me and I was like, but it's like I said, like it's
yeah.
accountability.
It is.
It's you showing the world like I've got a discipline, and I want people
Right.
to know that there's a discipline. And
Hmm.
I think it's I think it's that I think what it falls in line with what we're talking about. Like we just
It
don't
does.
have to just
Right.
go shoot real estate all day on there. It's hey,
Right.
like this is what I like to do.
Right.
It's a journal, hold me accountable. I'm also,
Right.
I sell real estate as well. So if you need any of that,
And that's
let
and
me
that's the
know.
thing I think where it really brings it in is people see your character. People want to work with someone they like. They want to see what kind of, even if it's something they just would wish they could do, which is a lot of what voyeurism is, but like, wow, he's actually doing that. He's working hard. People know that you work hard. They know that you work. They know that you get jobs done. And that's, do you want somebody who's selling your home to kind of, well, we may get there.
Yeah.
No, or the doctor like, hey, we should be okay. You might
Yeah.
your heart might work. No,
Yeah.
dude, you better be rock solid on this and have
Yeah.
it and have that mindset of just get it done, and
Yeah.
work. And so I think that people see that, and it leads to giving that full picture before they even meet you. And I think that's big. I mean, we talked about. I mean, we've all known video is the huge thing as far as where we should be doing our advertising. I still don't. I don't. I mean, other than than social media. But they get a chance to meet me and know me and decide if they like me or not working with that guy, whatever it may be. And they get a chance to do that by seeing you through the social media platforms.
Mhm.
And so I think it's big. At the same point, you have to realize what you're putting out there. I stay politically invisible. Um, you know, it's hard for me to stay that way on some topics.
I
I'm
as well. Yeah,
I'm
I
very,
get it.
I'm a conservative person. I love people and love God. And so there's things I just excuse myself. And it's hard for me because on those times I realize I really want to say something, but I also realize that could have a negative impact on the business, which then would have a negative impact on my family. And so that's a challenge if it's somebody who's just blatantly evil. So they can kick rocks. I don't need anything from that, but I'm not
I
going to
do
get in the mix.
I do the same thing. I my philosophy of posting and even commenting is
Hmm.
just is this going to do any good?
Yes.
And so when I say like I don't post certain stuff, some people might listen to that and be like, hey, like you're not standing by like your
Right.
convictions. And I'm like, no, not really, because I'm looking at it as like, is this post going to really change anyone's mind? Meaning, like if I was one on
Right.
one, if I was one on one with that person and we could have
Yeah,
an
you could
actual
explain.
conversation and we could see
Sure.
context and, emotions and facial expressions and all of that, I'd have a conversation and a healthy one. But yeah, I'm just like when
Right.
I certain things that I like, I even want to post certain things or comment. I actually last night, I actually was commenting on something, and I've probably commented on less than 100 things ever that
Sure.
were, outside of just like great job. And
Right.
last night I was commenting on something, and I was just like, I'm gonna bow out of this because I
Hit
think this is just
select
gonna
all,
lead
delete.
it's gonna lead me down a rabbit hole that really I'm like, I'm enjoying my wife, I'm enjoying my evening. Like what purpose
Why?
does this serve? Like it serves no one. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna change anyone's mind. I'm just gonna go
Mhm.
down a rabbit hole with this. Like, let's just move on. So, but it's nice to hear you said that because I'm kind of the same way. And
Yeah.
but just like a little bit more methodical about what you're doing.
Well, it really is. I mean, I just have to look at the impact, and I think it comes down to respond, don't react. Because you have to realize, and I try that in my life. If my wife is mad about something, I don't want to just react and lash back. I want to stop and think, okay, and it just take a pause
Yeah.
and just realize this is going to help or hurt the situation. And sometimes, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of us are that way. We're over analytical on some things. And some are less, and some are just drivers where they just get amazing amounts of stuff done. And there's, carnage along the way. But, I myself, I try to look at kind of weigh everything and look at, how it impacts people and if it's helping or not.
So what do you do for your past clients and your let's call it like maybe your CRM, your book of business?
Sure,
What does
sure.
that look like? So you've got obviously probably all of them on social that see you, but
Hmm.
do you do
Yeah.
emails, print marketing, phone calls, text? What's your system look like for that to follow up?
It's really, really simple. I use Reminder Media, send them a magazine every quarter. And then 2 or 3 times a year, I'll just randomly text them. They'll pop in my head. And they will. I mean, they really do. I'll be driving. I'm like, hey, you just popped in my head. Hope you guys are well. Click send. I mean, it's literally like speech to text is my nemesis and my hero. My nemesis when it makes funny things, but sometimes that can lead into joke conversations. But it's just that going through my head when I go by things. So I'll go by areas and I'll go by somebody's house that I told them, hey, hope you had a whatever. How's this going? And it's literally, I guess what's the term for it? Like a natural, organic
Yeah.
response. Um, my one thing that is actually really by the calendar is because I pay for it every quarter is the magazine.
That's
And
quarterly.
yeah, and that helps.
What's in that magazine?
Honestly, there's a couple different ones. This one's called Good to Be Home, and it just has all sorts about whatever the season might be, about if you're looking at these upgrades or doing this or this, I mean, recipes. It's just a nice kind of a tabletop magazine
Yeah.
with some fun stuff and feel good, and you're usually pretty warm, very wholesome. Um, and it just goes out, like I said, once a quarter, and they're like, "Oh, I love that. That's so great. Yeah, we're looking at this." And it does lead into things to call them. Not do I usually? No, I'm too busy scrambling.
Yeah.
Could I? Yeah, sure. Could there be
Yeah.
better systems? Yeah, I could call them. Hey, what'd you think about this article? What'd you think about that? What? I mean, but it's
Just the
there's however
consistency.
many minutes.
Just the
Yeah, there is.
consistency of people seeing, I'm getting something from
Right.
Dave. They see
Yeah.
real estate on it, and it'll hit them at the right time where they're buying, selling, or have a
Yeah.
friend doing that. And yeah, so
Oh
okay, so we
yeah.
got
I
the
mean,
court.
I had a guy. Yeah, and I had a guy that had lost my number, and he got the magazine. He goes, "I'm glad you sent me this because I need to sell my house."
Mhm.
I'm like, God, I'm glad I did too. Yeah, but and
Yeah,
then as far as I mean, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
Oh yeah, so I mean, that's really been a good one. It's been. I mean, it's not expensive. It's like $4 a copy, and probably spend 1,200 to 1,500 bucks a year.
Right.
It's not a ton, but it is regular. And there was another thing I was going to touch on. Is I also do a geographic type farming, or I don't know, you wouldn't call it geographic, but I go to gun shows,
Okay.
which seems random. And like first I went to like, what does this have to do anything to do with guns? I'm like, well, I grew up on 10 acres and I could shoot out there, and this is the kind of people, wouldn't you want to work with somebody who understands how you are? Um, and so I started with those and then sporting shows. And it's really simple. I just have an information sheet, which I've honed over the years. You know, just name, address, phone number. I added on rent or owning because then I know which direction I'm going with that. Are you a veteran? Are you interested in loans, houses, this, that, it's but pretty simple, but it's a drawing entry.
Okay.
Um,
So at the
and
shows, you do like a drawing that
Mhm.
they've got to fill that out, put it in, and then you have a prize that you give away.
Yeah, and that helps fill my database. It's not a huge thing, but there's probably 12 shows a year, and each one I get 100 or 150 people. Some are repeats, but then it also builds familiarity. We know this guy. Um, and then they enter to win. Last time I did like those metal shooting targets because it was easy and I didn't have to fill out any forms to give away.
Yeah.
And people loved them. I took pictures with them, and it was just free giveaways. And then the grand prize was a big one of those shooting trees, the dueling tree. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it could be anything. It could be home shows. It could be whatever. Just a chance to talk with people and then get to know them and vice versa. And so if you connect and they need something, you're like, hey, what's your week like next week? I mean, it's really quickly. Tell you what, I'll give you a call Tuesday, see what your time's like, and then it's just a way to meet people that's not antagonistic. It's not me knocking on
Yeah.
your door. It's them knocking on mine, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's been something that's been pretty regular. And like I said, it's not a ton of people, but 600-800 people a year that go into the database and then I of course mail them when new shows are coming out, so they know when they're coming. And I've got a few. Wow, I didn't know that was coming. Thanks. I'm like, yeah, no worries, because it really is about, I guess, just connections. And when they decide, then you want them to decide you, not
Yeah.
so much, grab every fish, like, get the fish used to you.
Yeah, that's
And
cool when you find a niche like that. I've had realtors when I'm teaching classes ask me how do they find their niche, and I'm always like, I ask them the question
what do you
back, and I'm
like?
like, yeah, I'm like, what do you like? I mean, if you're a
Yeah,
runner, it's probably a running niche. If you're a hunter, it's a
sure.
hunting niche. If you're in crypto, it's probably a crypto niche. I
Whatever.
mean, like, it's always interesting. I'm like, just take whatever dirt bike, like whatever your hobby is, you turn that into. There's a
Yeah.
community of people that own houses probably or rent them,
Oh,
and you can
every,
offer a service to them. So
yeah, everybody's
that's
got to live
cool.
somewhere. Yeah.
It's cool that
And
you do that. We'll have to when you're in Arizona, we'll have to go
yeah,
shooting.
yeah,
So
totally, totally.
I'm a good collector of guns myself. So
Yeah. Well,
some you could probably teach me how to use. I buy some and
yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know how to use this thing, but
You're like,
I
but it's
buy it
awesome.
like it's art. And I'm like, I want it. So
Oh
I
yeah.
have quite a
No,
few of those where I'm like, I think I got to YouTube how to use it.
that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm not massive in it. It was just something that I knew pretty well. And it was like, I'm not on any extremers or anything like that, but it was a place I'm like, hey, an idea popped in my head. I was literally in the business for 4 days and I had this shows come up like, hey, can I do this show? And then the agent, they're like, what do you need? I'm like, I need a prize and need some drawings. And so we did it, and it wasn't huge, but it's just a chance to. I don't mind sitting 2 days talking with people as they come by. Yeah, and some of them you aren't good conversations, but most of them are. They're curious about this or that. You give them a card. Let them know that you're really a real person, and if you have any questions, give me a call. Um, in that case, if you can find anything specific to that niche, do it. And like on mine, I made a business card that's a shooting guide on the back. It says how you're screwing up, and I hand that to people. Hey, this is for your pistol case. I actually used it myself. I'm like, crap, I'm really not very good at this. This is what I'm doing. But I just looked it up and saw what it was, and it's a nice thing for people. And then I go, and my number's on the back if you need to sell your house. I mean, but it's just some little thing to lead in. And who
Yeah.
knows, whatever your niche may be, just something to give them. And like I said, it's just people talking with people. So
Question for you, because I'm curious, because
mhm,
I'm going through this myself. So,
sure.
do you feel that you could be doing more with your network to get more referrals? Because
Oh,
we have
definitely.
a pretty, we have a pretty systematic thing that we do for our, database, I
Hmm.
would say. And
Right.
my wife and I, as we're business planning for next year, we're like, if we did more things, like maybe like a client event party or,
Sure.
this or that, like we're always wondering, like, if you did more, would you
Would you
get
get
more?
more?
Yeah, like you go through that where like if I did more, like so it's kind of cautious because you're like, as far as marketing, like, okay, I can only send out so many emails, postcards, and things like that, right? Like I can
Right.
only send out so much of that, like salesy stuff. But then it's
Right.
also like on the funner side of things, like do you think there's more that you could do that would bring
Huge.
in, 10,
Yeah.
15, 20 more referrals a year from your network?
Oh, definitely. And it's one of those things. It's always just a matter of how do you figure out which parts to do. Where I'm at now is basically expanding to where it's not just me. My wife is now on as buyer agent slash showing partner, and that's helped immensely.
Right.
But I'm really just really dawning on me that I really, really, really need a team, and not because I need to get splits or anything like that, but just I need people around me with the same goals that we can do more together.
Mhm.
And then doing the events is one of those. I know your team is it's you and your wife, and what else do you have?
So we have three other agents on our team that get
Okay,
leads, okay?
sure, sure,
And then we have a showing partner for
hmm
my wife and I. So like we have someone
perfect,
that we have someone that we pay salary,
hmm
that any business that I get referred to me or any leads that my ISA converts to me,
sure,
he's actually the one who I pay him a salary and then 10% on the back end at
sure.
closings. And that's
Was that
been
the
one of the best
was
things
that
I've ever
the
did.
was that the Dave Z model?
Yeah. Yep.
Did he? Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
Dave
that.
Z changed the whole game for me when I was
Yeah,
just giving so much of my business to the team.
right.
And, my coach one day was telling me, hey, like if you know, lead comes through the door
Hmm
and what are you doing with it? I'm like, well, some of them I convert and then pass over to somebody, or I
Sure.
convert and I still do the work, right? And nothing
Right.
wrong with either one. But he's like, what if lead came through the door, you
They did
still did the
this.
consultation, got them to your salaried showing partner,
Right.
and then they showed homes every day to them, and then you still did the contract and then got it into your office for closing with my assistant or my
Eh,
transaction coordinator. And so that kept, from a P&L standpoint, that
Massive.
keeps you hundreds of thousands. We were giving, I
Yeah.
think it was $700,000 was our cost of sell last
Yeah.
year to agents for them to do their work. And
Right.
so we just looked at that, and our goal was, what my coach's goal was, hey, like, how do you get that $700,000? That's the cost of sell to agent. How do you keep 500,000 of that
Right.
on
Wow.
your end? And it's like
So
just that one tweak between Dave teaching me that model
yeah.
and my coach really dialing down, like,
Yeah,
and
honing
I
into
get numbers, but like, sometimes you need someone who's looking at him from an unbiased
sum up.
opinion. Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
just looking at it like, like, could you do better? And I'm like, yeah, I
Right.
could. And so yeah, but we do the Dave Z showing partner
No,
model is
I
what we
love
should
it. I
say,
love
huh?
it. Well, and I saw that first. I think it was on Kevin Goffman's podcast, Kevin
Mhm.
Fred's podcast, and I saw that and it's like, holy crap! I mean, that's big. I mean, that's huge, and that's what's made me look at what kind of team and what
Yeah,
direction I really want to form that.
yeah,
Having people as showing partners, where if they don't want to be the type that want to do more, but also allowing them, like in his model, where they can go from that to being a full buyer agent, where they're actually getting more themselves, once they're ready and such. Um, I appreciate that a lot.
yeah.
That's massive, and
Did
that's been the biggest thing for me is what direction do I take this?
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah,
But
and
hey, that's good stuff, because the person right now that has no business isn't thinking usually about the direction they're going to take it. So that's one thing I noticed is I was joking with my wife the other day, and I said, I'm coming to terms with, you always have problems. It's
yeah,
just what level problems are you dealing with that day? Because like if you have no business, you have a problem. If you have too much
right,
business, you have a problem. If you have
right,
employees, you usually have a problem. And I'm like, really, you just walk into an office and you just have problems either way. So I'm finding out anymore. I'm like, I feel like everyone's looking for this way to eliminate all their problems. And I'm like, I don't think this is
hmm
a eliminate all your problems. I think it's accepting them
How do
and
you
knowing that,
cope?
like, hey, the fastest one to solve probably 10 problems a day is making the most money.
Yeah,
And you just keep coming in every day and just go solve 10 problems. And they're just
right,
different. So it's either you got to find more business, you either have to figure out how to convert better problems, or you have to figure out how to get leverage problems, or you have
right,
finance problems, P&L problems. I'm like, that's all there is to this game. And you
yeah.
just got to figure out which one to solve.
Well, that's I think the biggest thing I've seen in the last couple of years is the rooms, and I use the term room, not physically, because obviously with the whole year we won't talk about, or 2 years, it brought in this, face to face, yet not face to face, and so being able to be in Zooms and connect with people and seeing what they're doing and skipping some of the headaches, not all. I mean, you got to go through what you got to go through, but if you can have somebody can show you, hey, this way it works, give it a shot, and you bypass 3 years of agony.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. Yeah,
What,
it's
what are you looking forward to? And we'll end with this. What are you looking forward to the most in 2023 for yourself and your business?
Yeah. Um, I would say it sounds weird, but creating a more stable foundation of where things are going. I feel like I've had the surf ride, like everybody else has with this holy cow, the market's been ridiculous. And now I've learned a lot of tools, and I mean, I was asking about short sales a year ago, like, hey, no, they're not coming back. I'm like, I still would like to know them. So I understand the thought process behind it in case something similar comes. So I'll have that in my toolbox instead of going, crap, I don't know. So just adapting to this changing market, how you do that. I mean, we started doing that in March, I guess. March is when we saw it coming and said, we got to change now. And those of us that did, didn't get hit by the tidal wave. um, I guess just I'm excited to see what I don't know yet.
Cool.
And yeah, there may be a different logo on my signs, January 1. And I'm excited about that too. The group of people has been pretty amazing. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice, man.
so
Well,
yeah,
hey, and
yeah.
if when you want to learn short sells, call me, man. So
I know, I forgot
I'll
you were
give
a
you
short
a,
sale king too,
but
huh?
you know what's funny is I learned that all from, I mean, I can't say all, but Kevin and Fred that
Yeah.
we both know are mutual friends. They gave me the mindset. I can't say they taught me short sales. They gave me
Hmm.
the mindset to do them. I knew
Hmm.
logistically how to do them. I always say like there's logically how you got to do
Right.
something, and then there's
And
the
then how do you
emotion,
actual?
the mindset to come into that and actually get it done. They taught me a lot of that. So I'm like, man, if we go back to short sales, let me know. I've
Right.
already told my office, I'm like, if we go back to that, we're gonna clean house because like
Yeah.
we didn't do that at a high level back then, just because I was just getting into the business. But
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
ever went back to that, it's just an assembly line, man. But Dave, I
Yeah.
appreciate your time. I'm really
No, thank
thankful
you.
to just know you and just hear your
Yeah, you
story
too.
because we've seen each other around, and I feel like now we're a little bit more connected, and I just know where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it because I like I said, I met you virtually and then got to know you here and there, and then I mean we had an event in Texas, and it was nice to actually get to talk to you and
Yeah,
meet face to face, not so much the Zoom land. Um, yeah, and I appreciate you, and I like seeing your success. It makes me happy, and
thank
yeah,
you.
it's nice to have people cheering from each other across this nation. So
It is,
yeah,
man. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time.
yeah, you too. Thanks,
Okay,
Chris.
bye, Dave.
Bye.